Hi guys, Geoffrey here. In this video, I'm going to show you why it's so crucial to become untethered in your relationship if you want to save your marriage. And if you've been watching my videos a lot, you will know that I mentioned this word untethered quite a bit, or being non-attached to the outcome. And the reason why this is crucial is that if I look at the key moments of transformation, the key moments of change when they finally save their marriage, or they finally have better conversations, open up their partner, change their partner's mind, etc., it always happens the moment when they have really become untethered or non-attached to the outcome of actually saving their relationship. And this can seem like a very confusing topic, especially if you're finding my videos usually because you're trying to save your relationship. So how am I supposed to untether from my relationship if I'm trying to save my relationship? So in this video, I'm going to talk to you deeper about that topic and show you why not only it's important, but also how you can attain that as well, what it looks like as well. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Geoffrey and I help men in long-term relationships or in marriages with the right skills, with the right knowledge to be able to design a thriving relationship for yourself. So if you want more content on this topic, be sure to subscribe to this channel and also click that bell button as well to be notified when I post new videos every single week. And before we begin this video, I also want to let you know that the free masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up is still open. So if you want to join that masterclass, or if you want to submit your application for the Relationships Revival program, then be sure to stick around to the very end of this video for the announcement on how you can join that masterclass. And again, I want to start this video by showcasing this story by one of my clients again. And basically this person is saying here that only when he became untethered, only then can their behavior, can their words, can their questions, can their conversations seem a lot more genuine. And only then can their partner really open up. And if you look at the journeys for a lot of our clients, this is the exact same journey that a lot of our clients face. In fact, I can go so far as to say our clients will continue to struggle to convince their partner that their actions are genuine until they learn how to become untethered. This being untethered is a very, very crucial part of the journey, and we have to learn how to become untethered if we want anything that we do to be effective. So before we get to the meat of this video, let's quickly define what being untethered actually means. Let's start this by looking at what does it mean to be tethered in the first place. So if you're tethered, what happens is your mood, your motivation, your drive for wanting to work on yourself. It might also depend on your partner here. So we have a lot of people, for example, they send me emails and they say, hey Jeff, my partner says it's hopeless. Should I get your program? Should I still work on myself? Is there hope? Do I need to keep trying? Why don't I just give up? So here, whether they give up or not, whether they feel motivated to work on themselves really depends on whether there's hope. If let's say the circumstance or their partner says that there is hope, they will be really motivated. But if their partner or their circumstance is really hopeless, they will lose all hope here. And this correlation, this tetheredness to the outcome or the external circumstance can go the other way as well. So it could be having the opposite effect where when things are dire, when the circumstance is really hopeless, you might have this really intense drive, but once the circumstance gets better, you might be complacent as well. So you might feel less motivated. Either way, your motivation here either swings with or against the circumstance or the outcome. So you're tethered to it in a way. So when we say untethering, what we mean by untethering is really untethering yourself from the external circumstance, from your partner, and really understanding how to shift your focus to source your motivation, your strength from things that are actually within your control, which is what we call the process. So rather than at looking at the outcome, you're hooked at looking at the processes instead. So now that we have a very brief definition of this, let's talk about why being untethered is so important. To understand this, let's start by learning some key fundamentals here of what makes your actions, gestures, love genuine. And here we need to understand that there are really 2 conditions to make love feel genuine. And these 2 conditions must be met. Now, the first condition here is that we need to sense that the person giving us the gesture of love, whatever the gesture of kindness, whatever it is, they have this intrinsic desire to give the gesture. And this means that we need to believe that the person giving us the love, giving us the gift, whatever it is, they want to do it. They want to give you the gift and not because they want something in return. So for example, if you are talking about gift giving, imagine you receive 2 different kinds of gifts. So the first person here gives a gift and he says, you know what, I didn't really want you to give you the gift, but since you're my friend, I'm gonna give it to you anyway. Versus the second person who gives you the gift and he says, look, I don't know if you like this gift or not, but I actually enjoyed giving you this gift. I actually enjoyed the process of shopping for it and the look on your face when you get it. I just love gift giving. Whose gift will you be able to receive? The second one, of course, because you can tell here that the person loves giving you the gift itself. While the first person, you can tell, okay, you don't like giving me the gift, so you cannot help but think that there is some strings attached there. Now, another example is the same thing for favors. If someone does you a favor, and while that person's doing you the favor, you can tell that he's not really having a good time. He would rather be somewhere else right now. You will not be able to take that favor very well. But if you have someone doing you a favor and you can tell that that person actually enjoys doing you the favor, you can accept that favor a lot more openly. So in order for something to feel genuine, an action to feel genuine, it needs to come, we need to see that the other person has some intrinsic motivation, intrinsic joy in doing the action in itself. The second criteria, the second thing that we need here is also that we need to believe that the other person has a good reason behind the gesture, behind the love. So again, for example, if your partner says to you, I love you, and you ask why, and they say, oh, just, I don't know. I don't really have a good reason for it. It's just that we're together, we're husband and wife. I think we're supposed to say that. That's a very ingenuine kind of, I love you. But if someone says, I love you, and you ask why, and they say, well, here's a reason X, reason Y, reason Z. There's specific reasons, there's good reasons behind it. Then we can accept that I love you a lot more. And the same thing goes for an apology. If someone apologizes to you, and you ask them why, and they don't really know, it's an empty apology, but when the apology has substance to it, a good reason behind it, it's easier for us to take it. So these two conditions, again, are required for any gesture of love to feel genuine, to feel real, to feel like it's not faked, to feel like it doesn't come with strings attached. The problem, though, is that when you're tethered, then whatever you do will seem like it comes with strings attached. And this will show specifically in the lack of consistency, the lack of motivation you get, especially when things are difficult, when your partner's resisting, etc. So, a couple of videos ago, we talked about how your partner will usually make it difficult for you when you're trying to save your relationship. So as you're changing your behavior, in order for her to really feel that your changes are real, they're permanent, they're not fake, she will subconsciously try to test you a bit to see, what do you do when things are hard? What do you do when you're given curveballs? Because again, what you do when things are easy to fake, but what you do when things are hard are really hard to fake. And she wants to see, what do you do when things are hard to fake? Now, when you're super tethered to your partner or your circumstance, then whenever you get this resistance, you're going to back down. You're going to feel very demotivated. You're going to feel a bit hopeless as well. You're going to slow down basically in your process. And so imagine here that you've been promising your partner that you've been changing, you've been doing things differently all this time, but then she gives you resistance and you slow down. Now, that tells your partner that you don't actually like the process of changing. You don't actually like the lifestyle of changing, of becoming different. That you're doing this because you want something from her. You are doing this because there's strings attached. Right? So we're missing the first condition here, which is that we don't have this intrinsic enjoyment of the process. And you cannot fake this, right? You will be called out on your bluff because if you're tethered, you will get demotivated. You will slow down. You will get depressed whenever your partner takes away the hope or whenever you get resistance. Now, the second reason, again, is that your actions will not seem like they have good reasons behind it. What a lot of people do when they're tethered is that they're also needy. And needy people, they're willing to lie, cheat, and steal to really get what they want because they need that thing that they want. So they will apologize, they will make promises, they will say to their partner that they finally understand and they're going to be different, they will do all these things, but then at the end of the day, these are all just empty promises. They will say they understand, they will make these promises simply because they know that's what they're supposed to say. But if you really dig deep into the underlying reasons, they'll find that they don't really know what they're apologizing for. They don't really know what they're promising or how to really deliver on that promise. They don't really know what they're actually understanding. And so a lot of times the complaint from the partner usually is that you're not consistent, that you don't actually mean what you say, that you make all these promises to better yourself, to apologize, but then you still make the same mistakes. You still do the same things. You're going to show here that there's really no good reason behind your promises. And so this, again, will destroy the second condition that is required in genuine love. This is why if you're tethered to your partner right now, then nothing you say and do, you can find the perfect things to say, the perfect tactics, scripts, but nothing you say can ever work because nothing you say can ever seem genuine, can ever seem real. So here, instead of talking to you about what being untethered looks like, I'm going to show you a few of my clients and I want you to watch how they speak and how they talk because people who are tethered versus people who are untethered, they talk very differently. They look at the world very differently as well. So I'm going to show you a clip, two clips from two of my clients here as we go along, just to showcase to you what untetheredness looks like. So number one here, the first clip here, I want you to see just how readily they are to admit that their situation is really not unique. So in order for us to shift our attention away from this external circumstance into the process, we need to understand that this process is able to serve all different kinds of outcomes. That if you just follow this process, you can get the outcome you want. Now, if we tend to think that our situation is special, is unique, it will have a very hard time shifting our attention to the process because we don't trust that process. But I want you to see here that the people who are very untethered and they tether to the process instead of the outcome, they really have opened their eyes to finally admit that their situation is not unique. So take a listen.
To give you an idea of my situation, 12 months ago, I was at an anxiety level of about an 8 or 9. Married, blended family, 4 kids, a business with my wife, 5 properties. So I wasn't just losing my wife, it was the kids, not seeing my kids, a successful business, and then our real estate and financial portfolio. So the thought of my wife alone being with someone else was enough to make me feel sick, right? And completely weak. Just frees me up completely.
Hey guys, my name's Spencer, and I was recently where most of you probably currently are, and it's bad news. About 5 months ago, my wife left, and divorce was pretty imminent. You'd be shocked, but your problems are not unique. Everybody else in the program has almost the exact same issues you do.
So here you can see that, we enroll close to 1,000 people every single year. And when they first start the program, they always think the situation is unique. But once they understand the actual process, the principles, they realize that everyone's in the same boat. And whatever circumstance you're in, whatever things you're facing, the same principles apply. And if the same principles apply, the same remedies apply as well. Now, the second thing I want to show you here is also how they do the process because they trust the process. They do the process and they love doing the process despite facing very difficult times sometimes. And they can do this because they fell in love intrinsically with the process itself. They're not doing these processes to get an outcome. They're doing these processes because they simply enjoy it. They gamify this whole thing. They treat this like a game, like a fun game, and they love living every day, doing the process in itself. So take a listen here what they say.
7 months later, working hard. Now I've got to emphasize, guys, I'm talking about eliminating all distractions, not looking at other bright, shiny objects, shutting off all other programs, unplugging from the media, and applying yourself to Jeff's course. I did that for 7 months. I do need to emphasize, I'm still capturing my process wins, okay, my daily process wins, because everything Jeff teaches is process over outcome, and that's how you get that separation. That's how you can untether yourself both mentally and emotionally, all right, from whatever you're dealing with. And I had to push through some serious plateaus. There were times when I wanted to stop. 3 months in of applying the same thing every single day, course correcting, doing more, and still not getting anywhere near the outcome that I wanted. I was thinking, this doesn't work. I'm wasting my time. But I kept pushing.
And the way this went down was she could tell I was making steady progress with the process and the changes in becoming who I need to be to have a healthy marriage. So it took me about 2 months to really get through it thoroughly.
So you can see here that, again, nobody's situation is really that unique, and that everyone is facing the same kind of resistance, the same plateaus, the same blockades into actually following the process, but they learn to love the process in itself. And this is actually how they get the results. This is, if I look back into my journey of building my business or rebuilding my relationship, or all my clients and how they built their lives and their relationship, it's the same thing. You have to follow the process through the thick and thin so that you can get the outcome. And if you look at any athletes, any successful people, any big companies, they follow the same routine. They follow the same process despite the dips, despite the ups and downs. And so I want you to hear these people, once again, talking about the results. And again, when they talk about these results, they will frame these results as a result of following the process.
All right, now, fast forward to today. All right, my anxiety levels are at a 0. And when I say, I'm not saying 1 to 0. I have 0 anxiety around my marriage, my business, my wife, am I going to see my kids, all that sort of thing. I live in a completely different world. I'm a completely different person. right? I have full confidence in myself and my ability to handle any relationship situation and conversation. And my relationship has never been better, all right? In following the frameworks that Geoff teaches, I have built up so much trust that even though I face severe confirmation bias, my wife and I were together, just so you know, 12 years, married for 10, together for 12. And I screwed up. I mean, I only learned this now the last 12 months. So I did a lot of damage. I understand that, right? But I have been able to go through the transformation, build a significant amount of trust, and overcome severe confirmation bias. And that's part of the plateau, was dealing with that. But she trusts me. I've never been this excited about my future, about my life as it is right now, and also my future.
About 3 weeks ago, I got home from work and my wife was in the kitchen cooking. I looked down and she was wearing her wedding ring. And that was shocking because she hadn't worn it in about 5 months. So, I was jumping for joy and I was just shocked.
And again, they get these results because when you really fall in love with the process, not only do you grow your momentum and your self-growth, and not only do you grow massive momentum there, but also whatever momentum you build will seem a lot more genuine, a lot more real, because it meets the two conditions of love that we talked about earlier. Now, to really seal the deal here on how untethered people really think, you'll also notice that they do and love the process even after getting their success. So they do and love the process in their downtimes, but they also do and love the process when they're up and they're successful, when they've reconciled, etc.
So I'm still capturing those wins every day. This is a lifelong journey for me. I have not broken my streak in capturing my daily process wins for 9 months. So it's starting to mean something to me, right? I don't want to break that.
My wife and I are off to Hawaii next week for a week-long getaway, just the two of us, no kids. And if you would have asked me if that was even remotely possible 5 months ago, I would have said no. It was bad, it was dark, and I could see no light. Now here I am 5 months later, and things are not only back on track, but they're looking very good in the very near future. So I still am not done. I got a lot more work to do, but I'm still using the tools the program has given me to better myself, and I am the guy I want to be.
And they do this process again because they love the process, and they will do this process regardless of the outcome. So they're not tethered to the outcome at all. It's as if they're not even looking at the outcome at all. So again, I want you to hear how these people speak to really see how they think and how they think differently from most people as well. Now again here, you'll see that even after they get the outcome, they're still obsessed about the process. They treat the process itself like the actual game. There's no destination to reach. The destination is the process in itself. That's what true untetheredness will feel like. And that's the only place where you can go to, where everything you do now will seem very, very genuine. Now, you might be looking at this whole thing and thinking, this seems very counterintuitive. This seems very difficult. It seems very impossible for me to ever attain. Well, don't worry here, because you're not really alone. All my clients who start off, they feel this way in the beginning. And there's a lot you don't know here, because this is very, very drastically different to how most people, I think, live their life.
Why can we do this? It sounds bizarre and it will look very counterintuitive. If you early on in discovering who Geoff is in this process, this is going to sound completely counterintuitive. Like this is the opposite of what's happening to most people. But remember, most people are morons. I'm sorry to have to put it that way, but that's just the truth. Like 80-20 rule. 80% of people live in a world of mediocrity. They're not going to do this work. This is, and Geoff uses the term peak performance. This is approaching peak performance. It's up to you where you set the bar for yourself, all right? But I would say go push past the burn. If you've ever pushed hard for anything in your life, if it's sport or business, whatever career path you're on, and you've really pushed to get yourself to a level where you may be world class, you need to apply yourself at that level to Geoff's program, all right? And look, if you don't, it's going to take longer, or maybe you're not going to break through, and maybe you're not going to get the breakthrough that you want.
And the next thing I want you to think about too is that this is how all people who are successful, how they live. You know, if you ask yourself, for example, how can top athletes remain clutch during the high pressure moments when they're, let's say, down by 2, they need to sink a 3-pointer. How can they stay poised during that moment? If they think about the outcome and think about how important this is to them, they're going to make themselves choke. But they think in a very different way where they're tethered to the process again. You know, if you think about how can top business people stay motivated for decades sometimes in their business, in their in trying to perfect their craft despite not getting that immediate success? It's because they love the process. How can any successful person, performer, magician, musician, whatever it is, how can they practice their craft for decades on end without getting so much as a glimpse of success? Because they love the process of doing the practices. And again, how can people save their relationship despite being in really, really dire circumstances, really difficult resistance moments and so on? Because again, they love that process. They fell in love with the process. They do the process, not because they want an outcome, but because they love the process. So most people who are successful at anything in life, they have learned to be untethered and they learn to love the process intrinsically. And so this is a skill, whether you realize it or not, this is a skill you have to master either now or later. And it's funny because when people finally master this skill, that's when their lives begin to change, not only in their relationship, but also in their careers, in their level of happiness, in life in general. That's when their life goes to the next level, because that's when you can be consistent. And when you can be consistent, you can start to build massive momentum in various areas of your life as well. So again, if you want to learn the process of how to become untethered and using this untetheredness to master some new mindsets, new frameworks, and try to talk and think differently in your relationship to try to save your relationship, then you can join me in my free masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up. In that masterclass, I'll show you the exact steps I show all my students to achieve this effect. So if you want to join that masterclass, or if you want to submit your application for the Relationship Survival Program, then you can do so above my head or also down below this video. And if you want a free guide that can help you understand one of the frameworks a bit better to allow you to guide conversations in a more artful way, then you can also download the guide I have for you above my head, also down below this video. And finally, if you want to join a free community where you can talk about your questions and a member of my team will give you a response, then you can also join me in my free Facebook group down below this video as well. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment below this video. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this video and found it to be valuable, then like it and subscribe to this channel for more content like this one. In the meantime, I'll leave you with these 2 other videos here with more content and more skills to allow you to design a thriving relationship for yourself. For now, I'll see you in the next video.